All right, so the next part of the agenda was to talk about estimating and budgeting for your site. This was good enough to kind of work from pricing standpoint. And so one thing that's really important as you start to estimate is understanding units. So some common units that I put off to the side that you'll want to know. Obviously 12 inches is in a foot, and you'll have to be mindful of keeping things in inches or feet. You want to stay consistent. So you'll see a little bit of unit conversion in there, and that's just to make sure that we're always dealing. I moved into feet, and that's because when you go to order things, you're going to order things sometimes in square feet. Like if you're going to buy geofabric, you want to understand how many square feet do I have, because it's basically a surface kind of measurement. If you're going to buy something like gravel, or let's step back for a second. If you're going to buy something like compost, and let's say you're going to buy it in small bags, then cubic feet might be a good measurement, because a lot of times compost bags will tell you on it, this is 3 cubic feet, or it's 6 cubic feet. Or well, that's actually, yeah. 2 is probably the most you'll see. And then cubic yards is when we start to get into really big things. So off to the side, I had put, there's, if it's 1 foot by 1 foot, that's a square foot. If you've got a foot by a foot by a foot, then you've got a cubic foot. And then when we start to talk about gravel and things like that, then we're talking about a cubic yard. So that's 3 feet by 3 feet by 3 feet. So that would be a cubic yard. And 1 cubic yard is actually equal to 27 cubic feet. So you get to that by doing 3 times 3 times 3. So out front, like I mentioned earlier, we have 3 cubic feet of the 3/4, which is this sort of stuff. So, I'm sorry, cubic yards, thank you. 3 cubic yards. So that is an awful lot. And anyway, we won't go through all the calculations here, but you can see that if we wanted to talk about, let's talk about the parking pad, since we have these materials right here. The planter that is the first one on here is something we're going to do a little bit later down the road, much beyond this workshop, because we still need to build some raised beds and do kind of a covered porch thing. But talking about the parking pad, over there we had that dimension of 14 by 24. So you can take that to get your area measurement, and that's 336 square feet. And then I want to understand, let's do the 3/4 first. So what we felt like we needed to achieve was to try to get to, we're saying 4 inches, and we've amended that just a little bit since then because of logistics with the rock company. But for the sake of staying consistent with the example here, we said 4 inches is what we want as a depth. So we give ourselves a good kind of percolation layer down below our pea gravel for the water to infiltrate. And so that's this one down here. It's this lower calculation for the parking pad. And so on that, we said, if we have 336 square feet and we want to multiply it by 4 inches, in order to find that depth. So now we've taken the length and the width, now we're multiplying it by the depth to get our volume. But this is where you need to be careful about the unit conversions. So we have square feet there. You could also write square feet like that, right? Feet squared. And so you want to do your conversion by dividing your inches into 12 inches per foot. And so getting back to math class, your inches cancel, your feet moves up into the numerator, and that gets you now a cubic foot measurement. So we had 112 cubic feet out of that. So that's the one conversion you really need to be mindful of, is just making sure you stay consistent. Sometimes people will do things in inches all the way through. I like to go to feet because it's getting you towards cubic yards, which is what you're going to need in order to communicate your amounts to your supplier. So we have 112 cubic feet. That's something that a supplier could help you then convert over to cubic yards, or you can take it the next step and kind of do the favor for them. And so you take 112 cubic feet, 27 cubic feet goes into a cubic yard. Those cancel, that swings up, and you end up with, I know it didn't come out to exactly 4. Let's see, 54 times 2, it's 108. So it was a little bit over 4. It was 4 point something, and I don't know why I should have put the exact amount, but it was like 4.1 something or other cubic yards. And in estimating, if you're in commercial construction, sometimes if you're at like 4.3 or something, you'd say, oh, just round it up, because we're gonna need, you always wanna make sure you have exactly enough, and you wanna take into account waste. In our case, we're being a little more frugal, and I said 4.1, we don't need that last bit. We'll make do with 4, and that should be fine. No need to get a whole bunch more that we may not know what to do with, or else we're just gonna be digging deeper in order to fill it up and use it all up. So I said 4 cubic yards is good. We called up our friends over at Portland Rock, and in fact, they actually have their pricing online, and I've noticed that a lot nowadays. A lot of landscape places in town have a lot of their prices as PDFs or just within the website, and they keep them pretty well updated. And so you can go in there and take a look. And so I found that it was $30 per yard. Let me stay consistent. So times 4. So it was $120. That's without delivery, but they tack on the delivery on top of everything. So we got the pea gravel, the 3/4, and the compost all delivered. And then with the delivery, it really isn't too bad.